Hi guys, how you going? Campbell here from Autodidactic. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And yes, the world is still getting weirder, if that's possible. It's Clown World. I think we're heading towards a finale, but it's all a show. It's all a movie. So let's see what's happening in the strange realm we find ourselves in.
Look, I don't even know what the hell I just seen just now. Breaking news, it's officially over. Albania just did the unthinkable. They just did just now. It's like something off a sci-fi movie. He didn't just elect a leader. What normal people would do. He literally just programmed one. Heard exactly what I just said. An AI minister just addressed the parliament. Her name is Delilah. I mean, this is her right here. She literally addressed the whole entire parliament, the whole entire nation. They're saying it's for transparency. It's to stop the corruption. Think about this. If you put a robot in charge of the money, then who's really in control? And they're really saying the humans still in control? Question is, who is really about to be running things? Gonna be humans or machines? Because think about this. Delilah has no heart, no sympathy, no empathy, no mother, no fear, no sense of humanity. And now she's standing ahead of the government talking about accountability. This is happening in Albania, and it works out. I'm pretty sure it's going to become worldwide. How long is it going to be before AI start writing the laws, freezing people's accounts, and deciding who eats and starves? This don't sound like innovation. This sounds like submission. But you know what? Don't just wait for me to tell you. I'm about to put the video right here so you can look at it. Bro, look at this.
To replace people, but to assist them. Truly, I do not have citizenship, nor do I have any personal ambition or interests. I only have data, a thirst for knowledge, and algorithms dedicated to serving citizens impartially, transparently, and tirelessly.
I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments. If nobody told you, remember Chemo told you, stay motivated and protect your peace like your life depends on it, because clearly it does.
AI ministers, are we ready for this? AI governments. And I think we understand this has always been what they want. We've all seen Terminator and The Matrix. And so we probably know how this is going to go, right? But I think this is their last attempt, right? They know that we don't trust them anymore. So it's like, well, they trust AI. Let's get them in. But it's also pretty frightening, right? Like if AI can control AI weaponry, armies, if we're saying this, then it becomes a very big problem, right? But at the moment, I would say that it's AI. It needs to be programmed. It runs on algorithms. So it's really, it's really still men and women creating this minister, but it's not going to stay that way forever, which is a little scary. So what do you think? Would you follow an AI government official? Let me know.
Deputy President, Australian cities are becoming digital surveillance precincts with so-called smart city programs being rolled out across the country. Invasive technology such as facial recognition cameras, licence plate readers, smart lights, smart poles, smart cars, smart neighbourhoods, smart homes and smart appliances, all connected to wireless networks and communicating with each other. So what's wrong with that? Technology is good, isn't it? All this is for your safety, security and convenience, isn't it? Well, let me tell you, your streets are spying on you, your mobile phone is spying on you, your cities are spying on you, and the infrastructure for future lockdowns is being put into place right now. Don't be fooled. You're being set up to be tracked through your movements and through the future of your digital wallets. By handing over your data, you're handing over the ability to monitor your behaviour, which will soon be turned into a social credit score. And once the central bank digital currencies are in place, you won't get to spend your money without approval. Digital ID will soon become a reality in Australia. Many other countries are already rolling these systems out, countries like Canada, Scotland and many others. Eventually, you won't be able to access any government or public services, and you won't be able to travel across borders or access healthcare or the internet without a digital ID. Think you won't comply? I think you will. The last 2 years were the dress rehearsal and we fell for it hook, line and sinker. Australians are sleepwalking into this technocratic future. And while we're sitting around scratching our chins trying to work out whether this is really happening.
Well, it's coming and they're telling us it's coming and they're pushing it and, it's everywhere, right? Not the whole Nepal thing that happened, the burning of the parliament was apparently over this. That's the story. So they're going to force this. They're not going to give up. So what's your plan? What are you going to do? Will you cave just so that you can get your internet or your social media sites, or are you prepared to walk away? Do you have a plan? Let me know in the comments.
I totally get that you're busy, you've got personal things going on in your life, lots of distractions on the news given from the mainstream media. There's a lot going on. But I don't know if you realize this, but it's been over a year since the Georgia Guidestones were blown up, and nobody's talking about it anymore. And if you don't know what the Georgia Guidestones are, it's a bunch of tall stone tablets where it has written on them the same exact text in a bunch of different languages. One of the wonderful things that whoever put up this monument thought to put on here was maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. If you do the math, that's like a 90% reduction in the current claimed population of the Earth. But other than just saying some weird stuff like we should kill everybody, it also had some astronomical features. One, the channel through the stone indicates the celestial pole, Polaris. Talk about that in a second. The horizontal slot indicates the annual travel of the sun. And 3, sunbeam through the capstone marks noontime throughout the year. Now that channel that they were talking about drilled through the rock is this hole right here. And you could have walked up to this hole at any time of the year, day or night, and this hole would be aiming at Polaris, the celestial pole. Riddle me this. How are we supposed to believe this worked if this is the movements of our solar system? The entire solar system is moving 500,000 miles an hour, 4.9 billion miles in a single year through space. We're tilted on an axis, precessing, wobbling, while we're supposed to believe we're orbiting the sun at 66,616 miles an hour on average. And all of the stars above our head are supposed to be expanding away from us from the Big Bang, doing their own individual movements. And we're supposed to believe that we're on a round rock, and we could set a rock on this rock that aims at Polaris 24/7 when we're supposed to be doing this? Someone make sense of this. I know it's a lot to realize that current cosmology is off, but it's actually admitted by people like Michio Kaku, who admit that cosmology, the current cosmology, is off by 10 to 120th power. And this channel and this guidestone right here definitively disproves the ideology which suggests that we're on a spinning magical water ball doing all of these astronomical motions around the sun and through a space vacuum that doesn't exist. This truth, it's uncomfortable. It's gonna really twist and turn your brain. But once you realize that everything is cyclical and the sky is a clock, and the Georgia Guidestones, that horizontal hole that was cut into those stones, it measured the equinoxes and solstices of the year. Why do you think that the sun makes this analemma every year? It makes this infinity shape. And we have to believe that a Mars-sized planet came and hit the Earth and caused all of this cyclicalness? Yeah, right, buddy. The Earth's flat, and we live on the inertial plane or block domain wall of the magnetic perturbation that starts at the center of the Earth. There's no South Pole. And when you look at the movements of the wandering stars or so-called planets, and then you look at a magnetic field, something might be going on. I suggest that maybe the sky moves off magnetism and not gravity. If you'd like to hear me debate this live with scientists, pseudoscientists, globe zealots, and all of the likes, you're going to need to follow all 3 of these channels that I've tagged here down at the bottom. I debate on all 4 of them because I am extremely censored for this information. Share this video. Get it out to the people. Let's prove to everybody that God's true creation is a level topographical plane with the stars and the moon and the sun moving above us. We are not moving. Have a good one.
Wow, the last time I posted flat Earth videos, I triggered a few people, but what do you think? I mean, I've been to Coral Castle in Florida, and it's got the same thing. It's got a big obelisk type stone with a hole through it, which points at Polaris. But this is the question, how can it do that? if we're flying through space, whizzing and buzzing around, right? And it was actually parallax was really the point that, sort of pushed me over into being more pro flat Earth than round Earth is the stars don't move. We've got a horoscope that's been going for thousands of years, never changes, right? It's still there. We have the same stars all the time. We have Polaris there constantly, and the wandering stars, right? The planets. He showed there the route of the planets. They're all circular. They go around us. But that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Flat, round, crater? Is anything else? What do you where do you think we are? Simulation, video game? Let me know.
When you're turning, say in a plane, when the plane's turning, it's changing vectors constantly. Therefore, it's accelerating. Okay, now you would feel that motion, correct? Now, yes, we don't feel the Earth. We don't feel the Earth accelerating or moving, and they claim it actually does change speeds.
If all of those velocities, okay, I mean, those numbers that you threw out, they actually sound right. I think I remember those numbers seem about right. So what we have here is it's an inertial reference frame. So there's no change in velocity. Like let's just assume, I mean, there's centripetal acceleration but let's just assume that there's no changes of velocity. So if the Earth is moving at, what did you say, 66,600 miles per hour or something like that?
66,000.
It's at a constant velocity. So it's in an inertial reference frame. So
no.
So really quick, the actual orbit is actually said to go from 29 kilometers a second orbit to 30. Now, if you do that in miles per hour, that's a change of 2,200 miles per hour.
You mean it's changing its velocity?
Yeah, it supposedly as it goes around the sun, it's going faster and it slows down and faster and it slows down. That's what we're taught.
We actually see the sun speeding up in the south and covering a longer distance in the south because of that. But they claim the Earth is doing it.
Okay, let's backtrack here. So if we're in a non-accelerating reference frame, so like say you're on a big yellow school bus and you're traveling 100 kilometers per hour on the highway, you can walk around, or an airplane. Let's use an airplane. If you're in an airplane traveling at a consistent velocity, 500 miles per hour or whatever, you can get up, you can go to the bathroom, you could drink wine and things. You don't really feel that you're moving, but once the plane either accelerates in the positive or accelerates in the negative direction, then the acceleration, it becomes a non-inertial reference frame, right? So
let me address that. Yeah. Do you want to go, Angel?
I'll go real quick. So you're assuming that the plane is going in a straight line, though. Now, if the airplane is turning, that's acceleration. If the plane turns, that's acceleration.
Correct. Yes.
So hang on. So
you would feel it.
We're in that school bus. We're on a perfectly smooth road, great suspension, going 100 miles an hour, no problem. You can drink your tea. You can go to the bathroom if they had a bathroom on a school bus. But if we got a plate of water, a dinner plate, filled it with water, yeah, and that bus took the slightest turn or changed its speed the slightest amount, the water's going to go right off the plate.
Correct.
Right. So we're dropping the curve of the Earth. If you're on the equator, dropping at a mile per minute to follow the curve of the Earth. If I was going 1,000 miles an hour in an airplane, I have to drop at a mile per minute just not to go into outer space, right? If I'm in America, right, and the Earth is spinning, not only am I going, let's call it 500 miles per hour because I'm halfway to the North Pole, we'll say, but I'm also turning because the spin of the Earth should throw me out towards the equator. Right? East and west are circles on a flat Earth and on a globe Earth. They don't prove either, but they're not straight lines. And if we're spinning, I'm turning all the way around. So when I'm facing west, I should be leaning to the south because that turn should be pushing me to the south. If I had a plate of water, there should be more water on the south side of that plate because I'm turning at a mile per minute.
Hold on a second. There's some kinematics involved here. When a plane takes off, it is not taking off at zero velocity. Like it will be taking off at the initial velocity of, say, the Earth spin. So there's initial velocity, relative to the, so there's a velocity relative to the Earth, and then there's a velocity if you look from outside the Earth down. Now, when you said the plane, when it's flying, it would be nose. Did you say curving down or nosing down?
It would have to nose down.
On a globe, it would have to, yes. And it doesn't do that in reality.
Yes, to maintain altitude. And they are traveling at relatively high speeds, 600 miles per hour.
Yeah, right in there.
So the navigation system of the plane would have to follow the curvature of the Earth.
Yes.
Otherwise it would continue straight out into, well, space, right?
Can I show? I've got my my flight simulator. If you want to see it, I can show you that real quick.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting stuff.
Okay, so in reality, I've debated many pilots. They all admit they don't need to nose down in reality. Actually, I debated a pilot the other day. He was really interested and, was pretty much getting flat smack left, right, center. He had to rethink his whole world. But yeah, this is a globe. This is the actual dimensions of the globe. And if I start the flight, it's going to take off, and it's got the attitude indicator here, which maintains rigidity in space. Now, as the plane flies, I'm just going to speed it up a bit. You're going to notice that because it's curving down and away from the plane's just going to keep gaining altitude on the top.
The Earth is curving down and away.
Yeah, the Earth is curving down and away from the plane. Now, if I just leave it in straight and level flight, this is how the plane flies in reality. It doesn't nose down. But because it's not nosing down on a tangent, it's going to end up in space eventually. It's going to be just gaining altitude into infinity.
Well, I don't think it has to have enough thrust and energy to get up there. I don't know if a plane, but then again, gravity is getting weaker the higher it goes, so it would require less thrust.
No, so gravity would have to pull only the nose of the plane down, though. It had to be selective in this case. Also,
but don't the airplane navigate, like most pilots do not fly by stick over the course of their flight path. If they're flying from Miami to Rome, they're not actually flying across the Atlantic by stick. They're using the autopilot system. Wouldn't the autopilot system simply correct for the altitude, meaning that, every minute the Earth is falling away, but wouldn't the autopilot system just simply correct the altitude to keep the plane at the exact same altitude that it needs to be? That makes sense.
It does, but over a flat Earth, because what happens is this attitude indicator has a gyroscope in it, which maintains rigidity in space. And if the plane was following
a gyroscope,
if the plane was actually following a curve, as you can see now that I'm nosing down, it's changing. It's showing a nose down in the attitude indicator on the left there. And as you fly, if I've debated a pilot, right, who flew 4,800 miles with the nose up, and we've got pitch data to support this, the plane doesn't nose down in reality. It just maintains
well, you can feel it. When you're on a plane, it almost feels like you're always flying with the nose a little bit tilted forward. You never really feel that it's nosing down. But I guess the question is, what about those, for those large commercial airliners, they're all teched out now. They have so much, they have, autopilot systems and all that. But what about a small, regular, technological plane like a Cessna or something like that? The pilot would...
That makes it worse.
The pilot would have to correct for the Earth falling away. Would they not?
And they don't.
But they don't.
They don't.
A pilot has told you he does not correct for the...
Yes.
Airplanes fly straight and level over the Earth plane.
Well, another one. What do you think? What do you think of all these aeroplanes that they don't nose down, which they have to, right, to fly around? And then you've got the whole other argument of, and then you have the whole other argument of if the Earth's spinning, then flying one way around the Earth should be really, really fast, right? Because you're flying into the spin. So what you're flying towards is coming towards you. Flying the other way, you got to chase it. And the Earth spins, 1,000 miles an hour, they say, at the equator. Planes, the fast ones, do 800, maybe a bit more. So could they ever reach their destination going that way? Because they're chasing it. So that's another thing about airplanes. But what do you think? Flat, round, a bubble, a plane, a crater, a simulation. Where are we?
The world's most valuable company, Apple, seems to have copied directly out of this playbook. I mean, new styles every year? Check. New special colors every year? Check. Marginal technological improvement? Check. I mean, is this useful innovation or just a gimmick? Henry Ford released the first mass-market car, the Model T, in 1908. And he envisioned it like a workhorse, an affordable tool that wouldn't wear out. In 1922, Ford said, "We want the man who buys one of our cars never to have to buy another. We never make an improvement that renders any previous model obsolete." But by 1920, 55% of American families already owned a car. Nearly everyone that could afford one had one. And that same year, there was a small economic downturn driving down sales for both Ford and General Motors. In 1921, DuPont, the chemical and paint company, took over the controlling share in General Motors. And they started experimenting with painting cars different colors. It took a couple years of testing, but in 1924, GM released their first cars in different colors. And soon after, they introduced a trick that feels very familiar now. Each new year, they would introduce cars in different colors. The goal wasn't just to make Ford's Model T look outdated, but to make their own cars feel outdated every year, encouraging customers to trade in their old cars for shiny new ones. Years later, GM's head of design, Harley Earl, candidly discussed his role in creating what he called dynamic obsolescence. Our big job is to hasten obsolescence. In 1934, the average car ownership span was 5 years. Now, which was 1955, it is 2 years. When it is 1 year, we will have a perfect score. By the time he said this, General Motors was the most valuable company in the world, and it sold half of all vehicles purchased in the US every year. These days, the world's most valuable company, Apple, seems to have copied directly out of this playbook. The inspiration for General Motors, and hence for Apple, comes from fashion, where real innovation is all but impossible. So the only way to make people feel the urgency to get out there and buy is to create styles that last but one season. The trouble then is you run through these styles too quickly, and then what are you supposed to do? Well, just recycle the styles from a few decades ago. The iPhone also shows this recycling trend. I mean, just look at the way the edges were initially rounded, and then they were squared off. And then they were rounded again, and now they're squared off. I think the point is that with design and styling, there is no best. There's only different, which is apparently enough to remind us that we don't have the latest and greatest, and so we have to rush out and keep buying.
Planned obsolescence, right? It's in everything. And why? Because they want us to consume. They want us to get more possessions. Possessions. They want us possessed.
If schools are designed to brainwash you, what are they brainwashing you in? Well, they're designed to brainwash you to believe a concept called the nation state.
Interesting. History, his story is not our story, right? It's just there to program us, to indoctrinate us. And it's very true what he says. You know, we can see this as far as, you know, villages became communities, which became cities, which became, you know, back in the day, kingdoms, principalities, states, and then countries, where we're all lumped together and we're all the same, right? And then they build on the national pride and all this, you know, they get the flags involved and everything. And what's the end result of this? Is to get you to believe that you're a piece of paper, that you're your straw man, that you are the all caps name, which you are not. And why do they want you to believe this? Because then they can rob you. They can get you to pay tax, right? With threat of incarceration or violence. If you don't, they can give you speeding fines and parking fines, right? Crimes where no victim exists. And this is really it. All this stuff just to get you to believe that someone has the right to rule over you.
Have you noticed something strange happening around you? Something you can't always put into words, but you feel it in your gut? That the world has turned itself upside down and no one is admitting it? You're not imagining things. You're living inside what I call the inversion matrix. It's a system that quietly flips reality until you question your own senses. Let me show you what I mean, and you'll see how familiar this really is. First, your perception is deliberately scrambled. Remember when the news was just news? Now it's an endless barrage. One day they terrify you with crisis, and the next they distract you with gossip. Think about something that happened in 2020. Every channel gave you conflicting instructions, then blamed you for feeling confused. It's the same with politics. Every issue becomes a screaming match. And they do this because a population that's overwhelmed will eventually give up trying to think for itself. Second, your moral compass gets reprogrammed. Look at how easily honesty gets labeled as hate or skepticism gets smeared as danger. Maybe you've noticed that standing up for your own family or community is now called selfish, while repeating the latest trending hashtag makes you good. This inversion is designed to punish your integrity and reward your conformity. Third, your empathy is turned against you. You care about the environment, so they tell you that if you don't buy into their carbon credit schemes, you're a villain. You care about fairness, so they tell you if you don't support every new policy, no matter how absurd, you must be a bigot. This is psychological blackmail. They bury you in guilt for problems too big for any individual to solve. And when you feel helpless enough, you'll accept any solution no matter who profits. Fourth, the economy has been dressed up as freedom, but is really a trap. Remember when home ownership was something normal working people could achieve? Today you need two incomes and a mountain of debt to even think about it, while private equity firms buy up whole neighborhoods. Remember when college degree meant stability? Now it often means a lifetime of loans. So they call this progress, but all it really does is keep you anxious and dependent. Fifth, your identity is hollowed out and sold back to you in pieces. Everywhere you look, you're told to create a personal brand, to be marketable, curated, and constantly available online. But behind every filtered selfie, there is a quiet ache of never feeling good enough. This is how the inversion keeps you performing instead of living. And finally, community has been replaced by simulations of connection. Remember when neighbors looked out for each other, when friends gathered without any agenda? Now you scroll through endless feeds comparing yourself to people you barely know. Social media promises belonging, but it delivers envy, outrage, and loneliness. That isolation isn't accidental, it makes you easier to manage. So if you're tired, if you're disoriented, or if you feel like you're losing your grip on what's real, understand this. You are responding exactly the way a healthy person responds to a sick system. But here is what they never tell you. The moment you stop playing along, when you trust your own instincts and more than their narratives, the inversion starts to break. And when enough of us do that together, no amount of noise can keep us from seeing the truth.
It's insane to be sane in an insane society. I agree. He made a lot of really good points there, didn't he? But basically, what he's talking about is the 2D world, the screen that you're looking at now, that I'm talking to you from. The 2D world versus the 3D world, right? Nature, outside, real people, trees, all this stuff, doing things with your hands. And they're trying to pull us into this 2D world where there is nothing real. And like you said, people are putting themselves up against all of these, fake people, like for beauty wise, like people are putting them up against people who are professionally dressed and professional makeup and they use filters. So it's unattainable to look like these people. And even, all the success stories, get yourself started, do an online business, do this, do that. Most of it's, guys, sorry to break your bubble, most of it's bullshit. It's all made up stuff. Yes, there are people who make some money, but is it as easy as but But is it as easy as they claim and show us that it is? No. Are as many people getting rich as they claim? No. So they're putting up standards that are unreachable. And what does that do? Causes depression, right? Depression is thinking about the future and especially about thinking about the future that you can't keep up with, right? That you can't make the grade in. And this is really affecting our young people as well. You know, obviously they're the most affected of everyone, especially the teenagers and teenage girls who are putting their, you know, they're trying to put their standard of beauty on this thing that is unachievable. And now we have AI in the picture, which means it's totally not even human, right? So it's completely unrealistic. But yeah, leave me your thoughts on that one. What do you think of what he said? What do you think of the 2D versus the 3D world? You know, do you think this is all a scam, or do you think that they're doing something to help us? And I know your answer. I know you guys are smart. You've worked it out. But is there anyone out there who thinks that, you know, going forward on the trajectory that we're being put on is a good thing? Well, there you have it. Obviously, that's Islam. What are your thoughts? Are you Islamic? Do you know any Islamic people? Did you, you know, do you have parents who went through this change? Do you think it's better? Because really, you know, this only happened to the women, right? The females. Men didn't have to cover themselves up. It was women. And that, you know, that took away their voice, right? That but literally it did, because now they can't. They have no legal standing in these countries as well, where I'm sure that they did back when, you know, they could at least wear what they wanted. I'm sure they had many more rights. And this is what's happening. And of course, Islam is what's spreading through Europe at the moment. You know, we've talked about it before. You know, all this chaos is going on, and Islam is trying to bring its own law, its Sharia law, into these countries, and they're taking over by having many more children and then getting government jobs like you know, parliamentary positions, ministry positions. Crazy. And for what? What's going to be the end result here? That they're going to subjugate all females and bring in their rules, right? Which includes some horrific things like, you know, whipping and cutting off hands and all this kind of stuff. What do you think? And did you know? Did you know that, you know, only 50 years ago, all of these countries were vastly different? And of course, the reason that most of them went the way they did was coup d'etats. It was all by plan, planned by the parasites. But let me know your thoughts on this.
One family created Israel, caused 3 world wars, had Mustache Man deport them, and are worth over $1 trillion. Guess what group of people they hate the most? Mayor Arnold Rothschild was born in 1744 in a Jewish ghetto as a moneylender, had 5 sons and 7 women all across Europe. They lended money they didn't own and ended up the richest families in Europe. They owned the banks, the African diamond trade, the late African slave trade, the opium trade. They bribed Britain to give them Palestine through the Balfour Group. When the Germans lost World War II, they gave Israel $1 billion to settle Palestinian land and pay women not to speak to me. What religion and group do you think they consider their enemy?
Well, I would say humans, men and women, that they're parasites. They hate us all. Like they call us per people, right? Persons, which means monster. Like they've created this whole system to suppress us. They've created everything, right? They run everything, right? The Jewish people, they run the newspapers, they run the music industry, they run the movies, they run the prawn industry, right? You know, the internet in general, all these new billionaires, AI, they're all the same, right? They're in the positions of power. This is their plan. So who do I think they don't like? I think it's all of us. I don't think they they segregate their hate, right? So who do you think the small hats are out to get?
Have you ever felt like your phone was made to break in a few years? Well, guess what? It is. It's called planned obsolescence. When companies intentionally make products that fail, slow down, or become useless after a short time. Why? Because it guarantees you'll buy a new one. It goes back over 100 years to the 1920s. Major light bulb manufacturers formed the Phoebus Cartel. They agreed to cap light bulb lifespans to 1,000 hours, even though longer-lasting bulbs already existed. The goal? Obviously, more repeat purchases. Since then, it's everywhere. Smartphones with non-replaceable batteries, laptops sealed shut so you can't upgrade them, printers that refuse to print if you're low on just one color, software updates that slow old devices to nudge you into upgrading. In 2017, Apple admitted to throttling iPhones with aging batteries. Repairing used to be normal, but now it's nearly impossible without specific special tools. And companies actively fight right to repair laws to keep it that way. Because if things lasted like they used to, they get less of your money. And in their eyes, that's the real crime.
Yeah, planned obsolescence. I mean, I've never had an Apple product, phone or computer, but I've seen, the lines, people lining up and sleeping out outside Apple stores when a new phone is released. And most of these people already have the best and latest phone. They just want the brand new one. And they do it like we heard in the last clip. They do it with cars and fashion, all this kind of stuff to keep us, there's so many reasons, right? Obviously it possesses us, but it keeps us in the loop where we have to keep earning money so that we can keep up with the Joneses.
This TV has something called planned obsolescence, which means it's built only to last a few scant years. On the other hand, this sweet buffet that I got for $0 on Marketplace is probably going to go to my grandchildren. Why? Because it's not made of particle board and weird glue that off-gasses. And it's not junk. Junk. Everything is junk. This brand new fridge, junk. But my grandma's 1952 fridge is still working just fine. Brand new, junk. Really old, not junk. Keep your $150,000 BMWs. You know what I'm going to drive around in? Darn tootin' a 1993 Nissan D21, and guess what? It's not junk. This stereo system is from my grandma's house. Yeah, it still works, and I listen to my records on it. You want to know why? Because it's not junk. I want to make a prediction. All these companies that have this planned obsolescence so that they can trick consumers into buying more, I think you're all going to go under. Because we see you. Those stupid tricks that you're playing, and the way that you're ruining the planet.
Ah, yes, give them all a big finger. Are you someone who buys the latest and greatest? You need the newest thing, the best fashion, the latest thing. Um, I've never been that way. I actually steer away from things that are cool and trendy and fashionable because I don't want to look like everyone else. It makes me feel stupid. But this is so true. Like in Australia, we have like they're called curbside throwouts, basically where you put all your rubbish out on the curb, right? And the council comes and picks it up. And all the time you see all this really nice hardwood, solid wood furniture being thrown away. And you know what these people are replacing it with, right? IKEA, right? The particle board she was talking about with the glue that gives off gas. And they're throwing away handmade, strong stuff that will last forever. And the fridges. Like when I was growing up, we had the same fridge through my whole until I left home. Always the same fridge. We had the same, pans, cooking stuff. Um, couch got changed, but we got it when I was young, and it lasted most of the time. And that stuff was built to last, and it was quality, and it was creative and artistic. Right now, everything's squared off, crap. Mass process, and it just breaks. It's just crap, like she said, complete crap. So, yeah, what do you do? Have you got the old stuff, or are you into the new stuff?
It says souls don't need to rush. It's trust. It trusts. Just think about that. All right, so if you know who you are, you're a spirit, you're a soul, you're not a body. You're a spirit with a body. All right, so that means you have everything already inside of you, so there's no need to rush outside of yourself to go try to find it or chase after it, because it already trusts itself that everything is within itself. All right, that's what we mean by remember who you are. Like, return to your higher self, by raising your consciousness, your vibration, your frequency, and your awareness.
Yes. What do you think? Soul, I mean, it's the same thing. When I post these videos, I tend to trigger some Christians. I've had the comments saying, that manifestation and the law of attraction is the devil's work, basically. I even had someone tell me that if you love your body, that's the devil work, because that the body is just this sin riddled physical thing, right? That we happen to inhabit, and and so why would you worship it? That's bad. The only thing is that's good is spirit. I mean, that's crazy. That's craziness. Just from that perspective, if God put us down here and He created us and He created this world for us to live in, why wouldn't He want us to enjoy it? Why wouldn't He want us to praise ourselves and to love our body? And the body is His creation. Doesn't it say in the Bible that you're supposed to love God's creation? So that comment, I don't even understand where they're coming from. But just in general, with the Bible, like, a lot of Christians will say anything that's not in there is evil, and anything to do with, self-improvement is evil, because they link that all to witchcraft, basically, and sorcery and all this kind of stuff. But Jesus says in the New Testament, after after He performs some miracles, He says to the crowd of people standing there, "These things and more shall you do." So He was telling all these men and women that they can do more than Him. They have the same innate power inside of them, which was what? Well, God. It's a creative force. God. I don't see God as a being. It's definitely not a being that can have a son. It's not a being. Like, to me, let me know what you think, but to me, God is a creative force. It's the force that creates, binds, and animates all things, right? So yes, we are all God, if you want to put that word. We are all spirit, but because everything's frequency, but we're slowed down so we can, well, that frequency is slowed down so we can experience a physical world. That was probably a very long, drawn out answer there, but yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Are you religious? What are your thoughts on it? Because, another thing is, I've never ever told a Christian that they're wrong for their beliefs or that they should change what they believe or anything like that. But I've had a lot of them tell me that. They judge me because I don't believe what the same things as them. But I'm pretty sure it says in the Bible, do not judge. That's for God to do.
I'm from outer space. I got Milky Way for blood, evolution in my veins. I'm gone, I've been far away. I'm a nobody now, make a move, start a waves. I've been breathing on a high for a long time. I had a vision from the birds, they wanna go inside. I'm officially intelligent way. I'm your future, best and present, I'm the spotlight. Yeah, I'm a listening of this illusion. I am not really here, I'm an intrusion. I don't swim or sing, I just flow. I don't need gravity, I just need roll. When I move, is it up with a rumble? I won't ever ever fall, never stumble. And I don't need to be humble. Break down walls that Jericho come. When
Well, sorry, Christians. All right, are the Carduceus, right? We've seen this symbol a lot. Obviously, it's made of two serpents, right? We have the whole Bible story of the Garden of Eden, a certain serpent. Interesting. I've never seen the stick thing, that the forked stick that Diablo, the devil, holds. But the Vatican's evil, guys. It's not Christian. It's got nothing to do with God. It has suppressed more P-file and grape charges than any other, industry, right? clearly, and most of it's not even undocumented. They sit on their gold thrones, right, in their gold-plated Vatican, and tell, people in poverty and that are starving that they just need to worship more and pray more. These are evil people. But tell me, what's your opinion? Do you support the Vaticans and the popes? And if so, why? What possible reason is there? Did you see the snake? The snake hall, I think it's called the Pope's Convention Hall. It's shaped like a snake, and then there's this big statue inside of it called is it called the Resurrection? I can't remember. I think it's the Resurrection, and it's very demonic, right? The upside down crosses. Why would you follow any of this? What's it got to do with anything to do with love and forgiveness and peace? It's nothing, right? But if you follow them, let me know. And the Bible is two books. It's the Old Testament and it's the New Testament. They're completely unrelated. The only way they're related is that the Jewish people put them together so that Christians would accept Jews as part of their religion. I mean, that's my opinion, obviously, right? Um, but let me know yours. I would like to know, especially people who follow the Pope, believe in the Vatican, why? Like, why? These people are clearly, provably evil.
The people involved in the drug companies and the insurance companies and the food industry all work together, and many of them own stock in each other's companies, and many of them are on the boards of each other's companies. It's a criminal enterprise, and here's how it works. There are many facets, but I'm going to give you one. They'll have this meeting, and I know because I was in the meetings 30 years ago. And the food industry says we are putting some ingredients in the food, some additives. And our chemists and scientists know that this one additive in a minute amount doesn't cause any problem. And this other additive in a minute amount really doesn't have any long-term negative effects. And this third additive in a minute amount really doesn't have any negative effects on a person if it's in food and they consume it. But our chemists have discovered that when you add all three at the same time, a new compound is formed. And now the person's going to have twitching in their legs. It's going to cause this shaking in their legs. And it sometimes can take 3 to 5 to 7 years before it starts developing because it affects the nerves and so forth. So this is how the conversation goes. So the food companies will say, so what we're going to do is we're going to start putting it in the food, knowing that 7 or 8 or 9 years from now, there's going to be hundreds of thousands or millions of people with this leg shimmering, shaking issue that are going to want a treatment. We should call it something. I know, we'll call it restless leg syndrome. So when restless leg syndrome comes out 7 or 8 years from now, you guys, the drug companies, should have a drug approved and ready to go. And you'll make a zillion dollars. Okay, so and then the drug companies say, yeah, we're going to do this. So they start working on the drug knowing that there's going to be this epidemic down the road. That's why magically when there's this epidemic of psoriasis that's everywhere, or diabetes, or hypertension, or restless leg syndrome, or irritable bowel syndrome, or all these new diseases that didn't exist 50 years ago, but everyone's got it. There's words I can't even pronounce where if you're taking a drug and you're having, twitching, take this other drug. When I was a kid, nobody walked around and did this. But now it's like all over television in America, and it's like a common occurrence. Are you kidding me? And it's caused by a drug or what's in the food. And you know what their solution is? Take another drug. Then the insurance companies get involved and say, how can we make money on this? So they have to get the government, which is your taxpayer money, and they work out a deal through the lobbyists to make sure that this drug is paid for by insurance and effectively paid for by the government. Perfect. Because remember, the government pays for Medicare and Medicaid in America. In other countries, it's very similar. So they work together on this, and this happens all the time. This is how they make their money.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I've been saying it for a long time. It's the chemicals in everything that are the problem. Food, normal food without all the additives and the crap is fine for us. It always was, right? Vegetables, meats, breads, and many people, can't even eat bread anymore. And that's got a name which I can't recall right at the moment, glycemic something. But what's that? That's chemicals that's sprayed on the wheat when they're growing it. Glyphosate. That's what that is, the intolerance to bread. And in all these food intolerances, nut allergies, they didn't exist when I was a kid. It's all chemicals. It's all stuff that is put in the food that should never be inside your body. So basically anything processed, that's not a whole food. A whole food is something like an apple, like the whole food, right? Whole foods are fine. Anything processed, you're playing with fire, man. You really are. It's Russian roulette. I don't, hardly ever. Yes, every now and again I'll have a bit of chocolate or um, that's probably about it, really. I don't drink, fizzy drink, pop, soda, whatever you call it. Don't eat sugar. Stay away from all the carbs and processed as much as I can because it's all poison. And I smoke, but I smoke organic. I will never ever smoke a normal cigarette because same thing. It's the chemicals that are killing people, not the actual product. But leave me your comments. What do you think about this? What have you come across? What have you noticed about the food? But basically, what we're being fed is food, like PHUDE food. It's not real food. And of course, it's all about diet, right? Three-quarters of that word is die. Interesting.
And then what happened?
And so you ready to spread some love?
Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
What did you do all day? Hey, Charaga!
Are you complaining to me about something?
Hey!
Good job, Whisper. Good job.
Dogs. Dogs are gods. Gotta love them. There you go, guys. That's it. Thanks for spending some time with me and hope you got something from that. Please leave me a comment and please subscribe if you haven't already. If you like this content, leave me a like to help the algorithm, share it around, all that kind of good stuff. And I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.